My hair's a little bit weird today. I mean, a little weirder than usual. Okay. I am now going to share with you my super secret technique on dealing with a bad hair day. All right? You should all feel honored about this, and also feel free to use this trick in your own lives. Maybe you have an important job interview coming up. Maybe you got to have a business meeting with business, and there's like a presentation you got to do, and you're in the bathroom 5 minutes before it, and you're trying to get your hair right, and you're like, oh man, I can't get it right. All this part's sticking out. Oh man, no one's going to take me seriously. Well, don't worry. Old Tekking's got your back. All you got to do is get yourself the chicken hat. And then put it on, and then everybody will take you seriously. It's foolproof. Okay, honestly though, if you were going into, like, let's say a job interview, and you walked in wearing the chicken hat, the person delivering that job interview would stand up and give you a standing ovation. Finally, we need somebody with the confidence to walk into a job interview with a chicken hat. You know what? Not only are you hired, sir or madam, but you are also promoted to senior vice president. Welcome aboard. Have you ever tried it? Have you ever seriously tried wearing the chicken hat? No? Okay, well then shut up. Go buy yourself a chicken hat and see where it goes. All right, what are we talking about today? Blackbeard, okay. Blackbeard does not have a chicken hat, but if he did, One Piece would have been over already. It would have ended at Jaya. Blackbeard would have captured Luffy at Jaya. End of story. Well, maybe not the end of the manga. It would just be Luffy and the Straw Hats would have all died, and we would have just been following the Blackbeard pirates for like the last 800 chapters or whatever. You know what I mean? It's whatever. It's the same deal. Okay. So in the last chapter, chapter 1107, these chapter numbers are really getting up there now. We got some information regarding Blackbeard. Secondhand, Blackbeard was not actually there, but Katarina Devon was there, as well as Van Augur, who was looking very exhausted. I think the main reason why Van Augur didn't really seem all that surprised by, you know, Saturn being there and everything was just because he was so tired. So it was just like, yeah, I don't even care. Okay, Katarina, you got the, all right, cool, let's get out of here, right? And they just left, okay? Now, Saturn had a moment as he was kind of like throwing all the rubble off of him. He was just like, you know, what are you Blackbeard pirates even doing? You know, what's your end game? What's your goal? And, or rather, he did ask that, but he also asked specifically why Katarina, like, submitted herself to Marshal D. Teach as, like, an underling. Because Katarina was a level 6 prisoner, along with Vasco Shot and San Juan and Avala Pizarro and everybody like that. And so he was rather surprised that, like, you are some of the worst criminals all throughout history. Why would you listen to somebody else? Why would you not want to be the captain of your own crew? Why are you listening to Blackbeard? And Katarina simply responds, because Teach is special. And this is a line that is the same for the most part in the unofficial and official translations. Katarina does say, oh, because Teach is special. And then Saturn responds with, and this is where it differentiates a little bit. In the unofficial translation, he says, oh yes, as is his lineage. And in the official viz, he says, as is his bloodline. So lineage, bloodline, you know, different words, but same basic idea. Maybe Saturn was more of a fan of Castlevania Bloodlines in the Viz version, maybe. I don't know. It really wasn't that great of a game, but hey, I don't judge. Okay, so there's really, taking this into account with Lineage and Bloodline, there's two directions you can really go with this, okay? Actually, you could do maybe both at the same time as well. But are we talking about Blackbeard's blood relation, as in who his parents were, who his grandparents were, who his distant ancestors were? Are we talking about it in that context? Or are we talking about Marshal D. Teach's, like, race? Like, is he a Buccaneer, or is he part Buccaneer, or Giant, or Lunarian, or something of that nature, okay? And we can also do both, because I did a stream last week after the chapter came out, and there was an idea prevalent that, what if Blackbeard is just the direct descendant of Joy Boy? And I really like that idea, because it's like, basically it goes Joy Boy from 800, 900 years ago during the Void Century, and then maybe his direct blood descendant, like just, you know, Joy Boy had a son or a daughter, and then that family line continued on, and then eventually it reached Roxty Zebek, who was, the man that was going to become king of the world. And in the last chapter, Van Augur even said directly to Saturn's question of what do you even hope to achieve? He says, the world. And that's all he says. He just says the world. And then they warp out of there, okay? And that's it, okay? Well, that seems very, very similar to Roxy Zebek's school of, I want to be king of the world. I think Rox was a tad bit insane, but Blackbeard is as well. So I think maybe Rox might have been more insane with it. Blackbeard's kind of more focused on the task at hand here, okay? He does things certainly in a very erratic fashion, but it all ends up working out at the end of the day, right? In fact, now that I'm actually thinking about it, the whole point of the Rox crew was that they were really, really strong pirates that were all on that pirate crew, but they did not get along. That was the whole detriment. That was honestly the thing that led to their downfall, where they mutinied, I think, at God Valley, where Rox was like, all right, men, let's go! Roger and Garp, we're gonna fight them! And then the rest of the crew are just like, nope, we're not dying today. Bye. And then they left him, and Rox was like, oh, my crew abandoned me. Oh, well, easy come, easy go. Let's go, Roger. Yeah! And then they fight Garp, and Rox fights Garp and Roger, and then it's just some massive war zone, and he ends up dying, right? So that was the situation with Rox's crew, where he had a goal, but nobody got along. Well, now you got Blackbeard's crew, who also he has a specific goal in mind. As Van Augur stated, his goal is the world as well, but he has a better chance of actually achieving it because his crew actually work well together. They're in it for different reasons, but they are a much better cohesive unit than the Rox crew ever was. And it's a great parallel to the Straw Hat crew in the same vein. Luffy's a little bit off his rocker. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but he kind of is, right? Luffy's a little bit insane. So the fact is, though, he realizes that, like, I can't do everything myself, though. I need to have my crew to help me out, right? Absolutely. That's Luffy. That's our good pal, Luffy. So I love series that do this, that show the main character having, their own journey and stuff like that, but then also having the main villain have a similar parallel going on in the side. Like they're increasing in power at the same time, and any kind of crazy, stupid power-up that the main character might get, the crazy, stupid power-up the main villain could get too. My Hero Academia does this very well, I think. And so One Piece is doing it here as well. So we could just go down that line that, Rox is Blackbeard's dad. That was a pretty common thing for a while there. But if we keep following it backwards all the way to the Void Century, Joy Boy was most likely a Buccaneer, because we know he was a big guy, not quite as big as a giant, but pretty big dude to wear that hat. And so I would find that fascinating. Like, the direct lineage of Joy Boy leads to Blackbeard, but the will, the inherited will, the flame of the will of D, as it were, ends in Luffy. Okay? Because it branches out all over the place. There's plenty of people that have the will of D, and they're all vying for freedom, but freedom from different perspectives, and there are different viewpoints on freedom, okay? It's a little bit of like a subjective thing here. Like, Garp's sense of freedom is not the same as Dragon's, is not the same as Luffy's, is not the same as Blackbeard's, okay? Now, before we continue on, let me just stop for a moment, because there is one thing I wanted to bring up here. I don't know if this last chapter disproves this theory, but this is a theory revolving around Blackbeard's, like, powers. How is he able to have 2 devil fruits? That's something that's really broken, And there was a theory that's been around for quite some time. That's the ring theory. You've probably heard of this, but I'll bring it up anyway. So Blackbeard has these rings on his hands, right? And then right after he absorbs the power of the Gura Gura no Mi somehow, he walks out from underneath that cloth at Marineford, and he reveals to the world, not only does he have the Yami Yami no Mi, the power of darkness, but he also has the Gura Gura no Mi, the strongest paramecia, right? And so you see the darkness, and you also see the quake bubble appearing around his fist, okay? That also is covered with rings. He wears a bunch of rings. So the theory was, what if the technique that Blackbeard utilized was he gave the Gura Gura no Mi to one of his rings? So he's not the one that has the devil fruit power, it's the ring that has the devil fruit power. But I feel like, just personally for me, maybe you really like that, maybe it's like, whoa, that'll be crazy if that's true. To me, it feels like not really that big of a deal. Like, it's clever to use the ring, but, like, to just say it doesn't have anything to do with Blackbeard's, body or unique character or anything like that. It's just he figured out how to put a paramecia in an object. I don't know. I feel like that would be kind of a weak explanation for me. Or if that turned out to be the case, I gotta move my chicken hat over a little bit. If that turned out to be the case, it would just be like, wow, that's all it was, huh? The whole time was just he put it in a ring, and you could just take that ring off of Blackbeard and put it on, and you have the power of the Gura Gura no Mi now. That seems like the idea that he has 2 devil fruits. I've always wanted it to be something special about him, whether it be the Cerberus theory, or whether it be multiple souls or multiple personalities in the same body or something like that. That would make more sense to me, and more of a better payoff, I guess, is the best way to explain that. Also, from what we've learned in Egghead, that pretty much debunks it as well, because Vegapunk is the lead scientist when it comes to putting devil fruits in artificial, like, beings, well, the Seraphim are, like, organic, but then there's also objects that devil fruits are inside as well. And from what we learned, you could basically do that with zones, no problem, but when it starts getting into paramecias, you have to synthesize green blood, and you have to put it inside of, like, a pacifista or a Seraphim or something like that. And no, I don't think it's possible to take a paramecia power into just an object like a ring. Certainly not as quickly as Blackbeard did it. He just like walked under the cloth and just like put the Gura Gura no Mi powers in there. And once again, it kind of diminishes it, because all you'd have to really do is just slice off Blackbeard's finger or take the ring off of him when he's asleep or unconscious. Well, like, oh, okay, he doesn't sleep. He doesn't sleep. So I guess they don't have to worry about that. But still, it's just like, all we got to do is knock off Blackbeard's fingers, and then he doesn't have the power of the Gura Gura no Mi anymore, and then we have it. I'm like, no, let's not do the one ring thing. I'm not really a fan of that particular theory. And so, from what we've learned at Egghead, and from what we've learned in the last chapter specifically, it's Teach's body, his lineage and bloodline are the thing that's really the factor here on why he can have multiple devil fruit abilities. We don't even know if 2 is his upper limit. In fact, I would not be surprised if there's ever a fight. Maybe Shanks fights him at some point, right? And Shanks is planning and preparing, and they go in to fight all the red hair crew against the Blackbeard pirates, and Shanks is like, okay, he's got the Gura Gura, he's got the Yami Yami, I am prepared, I'm ready to go. And then Blackbeard's getting beaten down by Shanks. It looks like Shanks is going to win. He's delivering the finishing blow, and then, boom, Blackbeard reveals he had a 3rd devil fruit the entire time. Zah! And that's like his trump card, his ace in the hole, as it were, that allows him to maybe defeat Shanks, possibly even kill Shanks. Oh, no! Shanks can't die. He's got red hair. Shanks, you gotta live. There's a lot of people that maybe not want Shanks to die, but there's a general consensus in much of the community that's like, Shanks could very well die at some point. So just maybe mentally prepare yourself for that. That also helps out with the chicken hat, because, you know, if there's a chapter where a character dies and you're really upset, then you can just do this. Emergency evacuation chicken hat. And just be like, no, I cannot look, but I will look, but I cannot. Okay. So, let's actually talk about Shanks, because something I wanted to address with Blackbeard actually ties back into this. So, Saturn was aware of Blackbeard's lineage. He brings this up to Katarina. He's like, oh yeah, his bloodline, his lineage is also notable. And Katarina was kind of surprised that he knew that. It was kind of like, I see, you know that as well. Interesting. Okay. So the idea was this was kind of kept a secret, and only, like, Blackbeard and his crew know about it. One of the Gorosei know about it. I wonder how Saturn would have learned about Teach's lineage. Huh. Well, there was that meeting that Shanks had with the Gorosei. We're assuming it's Shanks, because ever since Garling showed up, and it's like, all right, so clearly Shanks' family are celestial dragons, so it's possible Garling is most likely Shanks' dad, but that's not ruling out the possibility that he has brothers or possibly a hot sister out there somewhere. But like Shanks could have a twin brother, and there's a theory that maybe he was the one that was meeting with the Gorosei, because we don't actually see Shanks' scar during that meeting. But putting that aside for right now, let's assume Shanks was the one that sat down with the Gorosei in that meeting and was like, I have to talk to you about a certain pirate, okay? So the way I've always viewed the Shanks Blackbeard thing, Shanks is taking Blackbeard extraordinarily seriously. More serious than any other group in the story really is. Okay? There was a question even I got on my live stream where somebody was asking, like, how come Shanks is not really doing anything with the Blackbeard problem and is just letting Blackbeard get stronger and stronger? Well, I was like, well, you assume that Shanks is just resting on his laurels or sitting on his thumbs and he's not doing anything. You know, Shanks is just sitting around on his PS5 playing Persona 3 Reload like me right now. No, Shanks he has a plan, and he might be gathering power too. Who's to say? He's like, well, we got to deal with Blackbeard. He's a threat, okay? And like, he was attacked by him. He knows firsthand that Blackbeard, how sneaky he can be, because he's the one that left that scar on his face. He, you know, had this massive plan. He has like multiple plans that Blackbeard always seems to come out on top no matter what. Shanks is taking this dude seriously, and he sees him as probably, honestly, this guy might be the biggest threat in the world right now. More of a threat than the world government, more of a threat than the Marines, more of a threat than Kaido or Big Mom were. Shanks might be taking this guy very, very seriously, and he needs to deal with this. And so maybe Shanks is like, you know what? If I have to go to the fucking Gorosei and have a meeting with them and tell them, you guys need to deal with this dude. Like, I would rather deal with you guys, the Gorosei, and your, you know, world government with, like, the Tenryubito and everything. I would rather deal with that than Blackbeard. So can we deal with this guy already, please? So maybe Shanks sat down with the Gorosei and was just like, you know what? You guys aren't dealing with him. He's just a pirate. He's just an up-and-coming pirate. Who cares about him? Yeah, he might have stolen Whitebeard's devil fruit, but we have bigger fish to fry. Shanks is like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. I know some stuff about him, and I have to tell you, I learned this stuff from Roger himself, and I'll tell you straight up, okay? He is a descendant of Joy Boy. He's a Buccaneer. He's the son of Rocks. This guy's going to be a problem if you just let him go. He should be, like number one on every single wanted now, okay? This should be the main threat you should be dealing with, all right? And maybe the Gorosei kind of were just like, well, okay, we'll think about it. Bye, Shanks. It's like, nobody's taking Shanks seriously. So anyway, because maybe Shanks is like, all right, we could fight Blackbeard, but we could lose. You know, it's not really necessarily fear or like Shanks is like quivering in his boots or something. It's just like Blackbeard is an anomaly. There's so many things about him that, I mean, Shanks might know a little bit, but not a lot. And it's like fighting him is unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. Shanks could, you know, prepare for years, and he probably has. Like, I'm going to fight him, and we'll see what happens. I'm the best chance that, you know, we have to beat him. But, like, he could pull some stupid bullshit out, like random bullshit power-up. And Shanks is like, crap, I knew you would have a random bullshit power-up. Boom! And then Shanks is dead, and then who else is going to deal with the damn problem? Well, Luffy, obviously, because, you know, he's the main character. He's got the power of the sun god and all that jazz. But, like, I'm sure Shanks doesn't want to die. And I'm sure Shanks doesn't want Luffy to die. So he's like, I would like to deal with this, you know? So, the Lunarian thing, I don't really think that he's a Lunarian. Now, you could argue, like, well, obviously, he's not a Lunarian. He doesn't have the wings. It's like, yeah, but you could always have a thing where Blackbeard could, like, take off his jacket and he has, like, scars on his back or something. Like, Eneru even kind of, like, ripped off his wings at some point, right? So, you know, that's not that big of a deal. I think the Lunarians are going to... Their point in the story, or their place in the story, is going to be during the Void Century flashback. That's when we're going to focus on the Lunarians in a really big way, because we've had two races revealed to us relatively recently in One Piece. We had the Lunarians and we had the Buccaneers, okay? Now, I don't think Oda's going to reveal, like, the Lunarians and Buccaneers only to have one representative from each of them, you know what I mean? Like, there's a tribe known as the Lunarians, and there's King, he's the last one. There's a tribe known as the Buccaneers, there's Kuma, he's the last one. All right, we're never going to reference these tribes or races ever again. Bye. You know, like, no, that's not going to work, okay? I think I don't know if there's any more Lunarians in the world, okay? There might be, there might not be, but I think we're going to cut to the flashback of the Void Century, where we're going to see that war where the world government originally took over the Red Line, and we're going to see the Lunarians living there, okay? And, like, the ancestors of kings. The Buccaneers, I think there's going to be more than one representative rather than just Kuma, okay? I think Blackbeard is probably at least part Buccaneer. And his dad, if it is Rox, was also a Buccaneer. And going all the way back that bloodline, you get to Joy Boy, who was a Buccaneer. Okay, now we don't know a lot about the Buccaneers other than the fact there's aspects about them beyond their physical strength. Their physical strength was brought up as like they're really, really strong and they have a lot of endurance and all that kind of jazz. But there's more than that, okay? There's like a more special, even Vegapunk mentioned, there's a special quality beyond that. In fact, maybe part of the reason why well, this is kind of undermining the whole, like, fatherly instinct thing, but it could be connected. The idea that Kuma was able to resist the memory wipe and personality removal surgery, and he's still able to, like, I will protect Bonnie no matter what, that kind of stuff. You could look at that like, yeah, that's the will of a father, but you could also say maybe the Buccaneers had an unbreakable, unshakable will that could not be taken away no matter what, okay? And that's the power of the Buccaneers. That's their true power. And so Blackbeard definitely has that as well, like this unshakable will, except he's using it to kind of like topple the world government and kind of lead things into chaos and like a pirate paradise kind of deal, right? Okay. So that's where I think the Buccaneer thing is going to go into, but we just don't know a lot about them yet, so we gotta learn a little bit more. But it makes more sense for me to Oda to reveal, like, okay, here's Kuma, he was a Buccaneer, so we learn about a couple of things that he's known for, and now we're gonna have now we know about the Buccaneers' existence, and so there's gonna be another character now, maybe Blackbeard and Rox, that had that bloodline as well. And there you go. Like, that's what I think that's going to happen. All right. You know what? It could also be, now that I'm thinking about it, if we're going along with, like, multiple souls, multiple personalities kind of thing, that could lead into, like, an unshakable will type deal. Did we ever see Kuma sleep? Because Blackbeard, one of his defining characteristics is he does not sleep. All right? I'm trying to think if no, we saw Kuma sleeping. We saw Kuma sleeping when, he was taking care of baby Bonnie when Bonnie had to be locked in the cage so Kuma didn't roll over and, like, crush her because she was, like, a baby at the time. So we did see Kuma asleep. So we did see that, right? So it might be something even further than that. Like, I feel like Blackbeard he's, like, one of a kind. Like, even if he's part Buccaneer, he doesn't have a lot of similarities with every other Buccaneer. He has something very, very special, very, very unique to him and maybe Rox. Maybe it was like Rox and then Blackbeard. Maybe Rox's soul is inside Blackbeard or something like that. But we kind of really are going My Hero Academia a little bit with it if we went down that road. But I don't know. But clearly, the fact Blackbeard can have two devil fruits at the same time, and that's because of his body, his lineage. It's never really been referenced before that nobody else has had, two devil fruits. I don't think Rox had two devil fruits. If he did, it was never brought up. Although, I will say this much about that. So when Blackbeard walked out and he had the two devil fruits, everybody was losing their shit and, like, jaw-dropping, like, that's impossible! Marco responded to that better than most people did. He was like, no, it's possible for him to have two. That's just how weird his body is. Now, it could have been just because Marco had been around Blackbeard for a very long time on the Whitebeard cruise, so it's like he doesn't sleep, he's a little off, he's a little weird, so maybe it's like, all right, I could see why he could have two devil fruits. Or it might be because, like, maybe Whitebeard told Marco some shit about Rox. Maybe he knows some stuff about Rox. Oh, yeah, Rox also had two devil fruits. And that was kind of lost to history or kept, like, secretive sort of thing. But, like, Marco knew about it because Whitebeard was there and Whitebeard was under Rox or something like that. So maybe. I'm not sure. Still a lot of questions. Oda, you give us a hint and then you open up the floodgates for a million more theories. Damn it, I love this manga. All right. Well, anyway, that's the video. Hope everybody enjoyed. This will be Teching 101 signing out. Go to that end screen, everybody.